You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
And I'm Adam.
And Adam, you know about me, right? I'm Zack. There's a
The
werewolf.
Yep.
The werewolf. Do you know what he is doing, what he's inhabiting right now?
I believe he inhabits your skin.
Yeah, he wanted to make me over. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. I wanna be dun-dun-dun-dun. I told you I'd do a celebrity skin thing. I'd say I'd be Courtney Love. I'd be in my love hole.
Oh my goodness, Zack. That was quite a performance. We are talking about Skin this week, specifically the Generation X character known as Skin. And these are three stories that are all about this character who, was featured quite a bit here and there, Mr. Angelo Espinosa. And, we're going to dig into his backstory. We're going to get on to him. Do you like Skin, Zack?
Adam, what do listeners of this show know about me?
That you like obscure and weird X characters.
And I specifically like Chris Picciallo. So yes, I love this freak. Skin is of the Gen X characters.
Yes.
Skin is, I don't know. I mean, Chamber's my favorite Gen X character. What do you want me to say? I mean, Chamber's the best. Chamber's the best design. We all know this.
Mm-hmm.
Jubilee's great, but Jubilee's not a Generation X character to me. You have to understand.
Okay.
She transcends Gen X.
Sure.
As
She's
do
an
Emma
X-Men
and
character.
Banshee.
Mm-hmm.
She is, exactly. I don't know. Then it's like Monet's obviously up there.
Mm-hmm.
Husky's probably a better written character overall, but I like Skin a lot. Skin's a good character under Scott Lobdell.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the honest truth. Lobdell got this guy in a weird way because he is a laid back guy, but in a way that, like, he has chosen to deal with some of the challenges in his life by saying, you know what, the rest of the world isn't that bad. So if that's not what I'm dealing with right now, I'm not going to sweat it too much. And yeah, I'm a mutant. And yeah, that's not like great, but whatever, man. It could be worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like
of course, he has this tragic backstory, which we're going to get into today. So who do we have to thank for talking about Angelo Espinosa today?
That's a great question, Adam. Thank you for asking. We have Patreon supporter Kelly Lusk to thank for us talking about Skin. If you want to be like Kelly, go on over to patreon.com/Battle of the Atom. Reach deep down into your hearts and pocketbooks. Toss a couple of coins right into our coffers. And then we're going to talk about whatever obscure, weird character you want us to talk about. In this case, it's Angelo Espinosa. In this case, it is Skin. And we're doing a whole episode about him. And Adam, do you want to guess what series we are going to be largely focused on?
All three of these stories come from Generation X Volume 1. This first one is fun because we were just talking about this issue, just referencing it when we talked
a couple months ago.
What we were referencing in a recent episode, a Generation X -1, which is the flashback issue hosted by Stan Lee. And there was a line-wide Stan Lee hosted sort of event of these flashback issues that was largely inspired by the fact that Stan Lee is used as a narrator on this issue, Generation X number 17, written by Scott Lobdell. Stan Lee gets a writing credit here.
Stan Lee absolutely had nothing to do with this comic. He looked at the caricature and he probably said, "Oh man, Chris, that's great. I love what you've done with me. Hey, true believer.
And
this is fantastic for Excelsior."
We also recently were talking about the Chibi era, which happens not that many issues after this. So it is wild going back just a few issues. This is issue 17 and seeing Chris inked by Mark Buckingham. And this very much is still in the style of the original Gen X issues that you remember from the first couple of issues, Gen Next, etc.
It is. Hey, before we get off of Stan Lee real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have, if I say Roger the Stan Lee experience, do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
What is the Stan Lee experience, Zach? And what does Roger have to do with it?
Okay. So, and I want to be incredibly clear with folks who might come after me. I have not seen this video in 18 years.
Okay.
So, are you aware of a television program? We have to jump even farther back. Are you aware of a television channel called G4, Adam?
I do remember. It was a video game centric, I remember Olivia Munn was on there. I remember there being some not great gender politics, etc.
Oh, well, it was about video games in the early 2000s. So what do you think?
Yeah.
It eventually turned into a place that they played cops reruns. That was weird. But they had a show on there that I enjoyed as a child called X-Play, where they would review video games.
Yeah.
They had bits, and one of their bits was Roger the Stan Lee experience, which was a guy pretending to be Stan Lee. And funny. most of what he would talk about was about how he fornicated with Jack Kirby's wife.
Oh, Jesus.
And that's why Jack was mad at him.
Okay, I don't like this bit anymore.
Again, I have not seen it in nearly 20 years, but I constantly think about Roger the Stan Lee experience.
What a time to be alive, Zach.
I like to think that some of our listeners are having the same reaction that I'm having, and a more different subset of listeners are having the reaction that you're having.
Yeah.
And that kind of that's the show right there.
Yeah.
You're either a Zack or an Adam.
Well, I don't think that this Stan Lee, which is a really fun caricature by Chris Picciolo, is the Stan Lee experience you're describing. But
no, but this is a Stan Lee experience. This is Chris the Stan Lee experience.
It is. So this issue essentially is about Chamber and Skin are on the run. They have been separated from the rest of the team, and they are
after the stuff with M-Plate where Sync becomes an M-Plate for a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, and it is revealed that Monet and M-Plate are siblings.
Related, yes.
Right.
And that gets like a I call it a B plot, but it's really a C plot in this comic.
So we have this circus theme that is going through this issue because Angelo and Jonathan are hanging out, wouldn't you know it, at a local circus where they are hiding from the X-Cutioner, but not the X-Cutioner. Which X-Cutioner is this, Zach?
No, this is Carl. This is
the original.
Yeah, this is our friend Carl. This is Carl the X-Cutioner.
Yeah,
I think there's only been. Well, wait, no. How many X-Cutioners are there? There's
like 3, haven't there?
There's the Googie X-Cutioner. Is the guy in Gambit a different dude?
I feel like he is, because then it's revealed that like it's a suit from space or something.
Yes, that's right. That's Hethsa.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, there are only 3 X-Cutioners.
Okay, so I wasn't wrong.
No, we were right.
Yeah.
Why didn't Mark Guggenheim just use Carl?
Man, I don't know.
Is Carl dead?
I don't know.
No, because he was with he was with Homenes Verendi in Marauders.
Oh, okay. I love the page layouts of this because, similar to some of the other sort of experimental layouts that Chris has done, this from beginning to end has the background of white and red circus tent stripes as a sort of the framing around all of the page layouts. And it just looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's not every page, but many of the pages that are set at the circus have this background as Chamber's not feeling well. So Skin is hiding Chamber and basically trying to evade the X-Cutioner, and it's great.
The X-Cutioner is hunting Skin because he believes that this mutant Skin killed a young boy in Los Angeles named Angelo Espinosa, which is odd to Skin because that's his name. It's actually Skin's on top of it. It's odd to Chamber because he's like, Skin, we're like roommates. I know your name. You didn't kill you. Just tell him you're you. That solves this.
Well, he also can't reveal that he is him because of what we will find out later, because he really does need to be kind of in hiding, which is weird because he is still using that name, which is still his name. But
yeah, but just with like a handful of other freaks.
Yeah.
What, is Emma gonna rat him out? Emma is a lot of things. Emma's no snitch.
No. I do like a couple of things in particular about this issue. One is that on the cover, you're given this sort of like game about which classic Universal monster is Skin hiding as, which is followed up inside the issue. You assume that he is Death, but it turns out he is the Mummy. I really like that. I also like that there is a hall of mirrors where Angelo sees what he looked like before his mutant powers activated, and I like that as well.
It does that Scott Lobdell thing, which professional comic book writer Scott Lobdell, sex creep Scott Lobdell, he can hit an emotional core with especially these Gen X kids.
Oh yeah,
he did this in his X-Men a lot, where it's like he does get to that deeper truth that even in a very silly scenario, because the X-Cutioner is not threatening during this, Carl is very silly, but he does get to like an inner truth about these characters, specifically about Skin, and it's hard to not enjoy that a lot. Like this is part of why Generation X is a really special comic to a lot of people, because there is that great balance of good character insight with fun, expressive, weird art.
Yeah.
And great comics action. And it's the stuff that really gets me happy. I liked reading this issue.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And I think that it's just, Chris and Mark at their, in this wonderful stage of both of their careers where they're just firing on all cylinders. I mean, this is really, really good. And I think it just has some really funny beats in it, like despite the fact that the X-Cutioner is our villain here, he's coming to the realization that maybe he's up to no good, that he's not the hero. It's the "Are we the baddies" meme, and X-Cutioner is really figuring it out. And at the same time, there's also just like some very dry humor here. Like for instance, Chamber needs to be taken off the board for this issue so that it can be a Skin-centric story. And so Skin's like, "You don't breathe, right?" And Jonathan's like, "No, why?" And he hides him in the circus dunk tank for the issue, which is just funny.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, so this is a good one.
This is a really good one. Like, folks, Generation X is cool. And more people, it's not just the characters, it's the art, it's everything about it. It's the entire package of Generation X. That it did some weird, "Hi, I'm Stan Lee, and I'm going to be running this comic, true believer." And like, I want that. I want that in comics that knows what they are and then also knows what comics can be and can do. Like, that's fun for me, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy this comic. And do you know what else I enjoy, Adam?
I'm assuming you're going to say our big old list, which just has a crazy number of X.
No, the list gives me anxiety.
Oh.
I do not enjoy the list. I respect the list.
Okay. So what were you going to say? I don't know.
I enjoy the good comics on our list. I enjoy looking at the parts of the list that are good and not the parts that are bad, because we've made some choices in our time here and we just have to live with it. But do you know what choice I do live with and I don't regret?
I'm not sure how you're segueing over here, so I'm just going to let you just go.
Thank you.
Just do your thing.
Let me cook. I don't regret that number one on our list of 1,047 X-Men comics is House of X Powers of 10. We've been ranking these from best to worst, by the way. 250 is the Omega Red issues by Jim Lee in X-Men. At 500, we got Phalanx Covenant, the final sanction. That one's challenging in interesting ways because it's got it's got a big cable in that. You remember how big that cable is?
Yeah.
He's so big.
Big cable.
Big cable. 350 is New Mutants Volume 3, number 11, Siege. At 1,000 on this list, this is wild. It's the Dark Phoenix saga, but the one from X-Men Adventures.
Yeah.
At 1,047 is 2099 World of Tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to look at where we have some Generation X stuff.
All right.
And
so
I think there's right after this issue, literally the issue right after this is For the Sake of the Children. It's a 2-part Emma Frost story where she fails at making food for kids. That's at 187.
Yep.
2 below that is Generation X Below the Cracks. That has Nanny and Orphan Maker in it.
Yep. I don't think this is as good as either of those.
No.
But I would say it is better than at 217. We have the Christina Strain Generation X.
Yeah.
Which is the end of that arc. And I think this is better than that.
I think this breaks into our top 200.
I would agree. Because
How
at
do you feel
200,
about
we have What If Volume 2, 32 and 33, which are the 2 issues about what if Jean Grey hadn't died during Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, this is better than that.
I think this is better than that.
I think this is better than the Sad Airport issue of Cable. That's Cable 22. That's at 186.
Oh, so you're okay. So you're putting that above?
No, okay. No, I'm seeing where you're at.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Still in the 190s.
We're in the right spot. This is better than House of M at 193.
I would agree. Is it better than Four Sisters from All New Wolverine?
It's not better than All New Wolverine 7, which is where Squirrel Girl gives Wolverine a Wolverine.
Yeah.
It's probably not better than Four Sisters. It's probably not better than Four Sisters, right? I was thinking about how Wolverine has a sister out there that she doesn't talk about anymore. And I'm not talking about Gabby. I mean the other one. The one that's not dead.
Yeah. Hasn't been mentioned in a while. So this is we're going to put this at 193, right above House of M?
Yeah. Who's going to be bringing back Baloney?
I don't think is that how you say it? Baloney?
No, I doubt it. I think it's Bologna.
Bologna.
Oh, right. Yes. Like the French. The thing the French say.
Yeah.
But do you know who's not French?
Do you want to let your dog in?
Yeah, I do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm hearing some scritchy scratches over there on the door.
The door was not locked.
Yeah, but the dog doesn't know how to open the door handle. No, he's not a velociraptor.
Okay, you're making some valid points because you don't know the architecture of my house. That door is a double door that does not latch.
The dog could
has a spring. Yeah, it's spring.
Could just lean hard.
Yeah, you just need to put a little bit of force on it. It'll open up.
All right, listen. I don't want to judge the dog. It's a dog.
I do. I've had this dog for like 13 years. I know the dog is capable of applying a small amount of force to open up this door. He does it constantly. The fact that he's just scratching and being annoying about it, that's on him.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's on him, dog. But he's not the only animal that we have to deal with now. We've got a more feathery friend.
Yeah,
that will be joining us.
We do because for some reason. For
one reason. There is one reason alone.
I have to imagine that it's just because Chris Picciolo wanted to draw him, but this is like the lead up to Daydreamers. And so Howard the Duck starts appearing in Generation X in issues 20 and 21, which are still skin and chamber focused issues.
They are still trying to get home. This is kind of their next story afterwards. And they start hitchhiking. And wouldn't you know it, who picks them up but Howard the Duck?
When was the last time Howard the Duck appeared in a comic before this?
Well, here's the thing I'm trying to think about. I was going to say that we think of Howard as like a guy who can appear in Marvel now. But people have to understand how much rehabilitation they had to do for Howard the Duck to be a usable character ever again after that movie. He had last appeared in a Savage Hulk,
Okay.
which was in 95. I don't know much
Okay.
about that, but I
Okay.
do not believe he had a major role in that. That was like a very quick thing.
Yeah.
He'd been in before that. He was in She-Hulk in the 90s, but Steve Gerber wrote that.
Gotcha.
Now, the last time anyone but Steve Gerber wrote Howard the Duck, it was a spell because here's the thing about Howard the Duck is he was in a pretty bad movie, and
It was a bomb.
and
So,
like he was a toxic. That was a toxic brand.
yeah.
We've done a lot of Howard the Duck rehabilitation in our time. Now that people are like, oh yeah, Howard, that's a Marvel thing.
Well, and it's important to note that while we have Scotty Lobbs and Chris Pachalo doing these 2 issues, the first issue is still inked by Mark Buckingham, but the second issue is inked by Joe Pimentel. And that changes things a little bit. We're also getting really into Steve Buccellato does the colors, and I feel like goes a little crazy with the digital coloring on 21. It's like
On 17, there was like 2 spots of like egregious 96 digital coloring,
yeah,
but you could get over it.
yeah.
There's
21
a
is
lot.
like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of fades and lens flares, and it's just like it's unnecessary,
The technology wasn't there yet.
I mean, they were trying stuff. It doesn't always look good. So the better issue here, I think, is number 20, because not only do you have the hitchhiking duo of Skin and Chamber. Chamber is wearing a fake beard to cover up his flames, which I think is very
Absolutely
funny.
fantastic. It's
But
so funny.
we're also getting the B story of Beast giving an exam to the rest of the Gen X kids. It's a math exam. And so populating the frames, like the background, just like we were just talking about with the circus stripes, there's these pages where we get Jubilee's little doodles of the other characters in the book. It is fantastic. I love these little scribbles as Beast visits each one of the characters and checks in with them about their exams.
We also get some setup for Operation Zero Tolerance.
Yes.
We also get some good Artie and Leech content.
Oh, aren't they cute? They're so adorable in this issue.
Love Artie and Leech. Love that Franklin becomes their friend starting in this issue.
Wild that Nathan just swings by and is like, you better take care of Franklin or I'll kill you. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to say this and it's going to sound weird. I don't think superheroes should have dads. Like, I think in general, they're better off when they don't have dads.
Okay.
Reed Richards' father is one of the weirdest dads in comics. Like, I don't get Nathaniel Richards.
He's an interesting time traveling deadbeat as opposed to Cable, who's a relatively good dad who time travels.
Cable, the only time Cable was a deadbeat dad is when he thought his kid was dead.
Yeah. Yep.
And even then, he didn't want his kid to be murdered by Wolverine, even though his kid turned out to be a piece of junk, garbage. Nathaniel Richards, I don't know anything about this guy, and I've read S.H.I.E.L.D.
He just, he pops in and out.
He's around, I guess.
The introduction of Franklin and this plot line is very odd. It seems very tacked on to this. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But it happens so that Artie, Leech, and Franklin can run around, and they're adorable.
They are adorable. It gets into the next issue where, of course, Chamber and Skin and Howard the Duck, who has picked them up from hitchhiking, get into a bar fight.
Bar fight. It's great. I love it. Howard Duck gets a splash page. It's fun.
It's a great splash page too. Like, you know that Bachalo was like, this is kind of all I wanted to draw for this entire issue. I did this page, so I'm happy. And then he draws the heck out of the bar. Like, he does a lot of work with this.
So many different little, just motorbike gang guys, like beards and tattoos and, people throwing each other across the bar. It's fun.
Now, we also get, again, that same little emotional depth that we were talking about in 17 here, because what you find out is they are actually in LA where Skin grew up.
Yes.
And he goes and disguises himself and talks to his mom, who thinks he's dead.
Well, we are introduced to the Torres posse and a character who is important to Skin's backstory, and that is Miguela Torres. Um, and, he has this very poignant set of scenes where both his mother and Torres visit his grave, and then Angelo is visiting his own grave, and trying to take stock of like, what does it mean for him to have kind of set this life behind. And it really does hit an emotional beat, especially with the mother.
Yeah, because she misses her son, but also she is racist and he doesn't know how to deal with her.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. But the Torres character will come back in issues that we've talked about on not that long ago during the Operation Zero Tolerance arc. And she's an interesting character. So we're getting introduced to these folks as the issue goes by and getting a little bit more. It's actually kind of surprising how much page time and investment they give to Skin's backstory, because not all the characters in this book get this treatment.
Well, and Lobdell and Bachelot put out a lot of information about these characters. Like they had a whole character Bible about these guys.
Right.
And I think Scott saw the writing on the wall coming up to 25 and it's like, I think this is where I want to start pulling the ripcord on this book, knowing everything that was going on with Marvel. And I think they wanted to get some of that on the page, which is great for Skin.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the flip side of that, specifically getting all that backstory onto the page, is the content that Beast is really here for, which is to diagnose M with autism. Right at the end of the book.
That is the stinger at the end, is that Monet
I've seen this condition before.
Monet
is autistic.
Yeah, Monet is basically getting into another of her catatonic spells and has used ripped up pieces of paper to build a pair of houses. And Beast uses this information to diagnose her with autism. And I don't think
Scott Lobdell knows what autism is.
I have to think that if you're a neurodiverse reader reading this issue, you probably are like, what? Beast? What are you talking about?
As someone who has no diagnosis and know anything on that, who would describe themselves as neurotypical, I do not mean to speak for anyone, but it almost reads as like beyond offensive and into like, you're just confused, Scott.
Yeah, it's so
like
odd.
It feels so far out of left field.
Yep.
Like even compared to like David Haller or other characters in X-Men where they were using autism as a blanket diagnosis that didn't really make sense. The Monet thing is wild, and I don't know what they were doing here.
Yeah, especially because
it doesn't become relevant either. Like it just kind of gets dropped.
No, and we know that within a few issues we're going to get into all of this stuff about, two kids in a trench coat, and Monet is actually Penance is actually Monet, and et cetera, et cetera. So just the fact that this is thrown in so well, here's what's weird about it. It feels casual, but it is meant to feel like a cliffhangery kind of moment at the end of this issue, like dun dun dun, and it's like, oh, there's something really not good and off-putting about that.
Yeah, it feels like they're using it for shock value.
Yeah, exactly,
and that's not great. That's not something I personally enjoy.
Yeah, so you get all this fun bar stuff and the good sync backstory, and you get the the cute Jubilee scribbles, but then you're adding this little thing at the end. This issue, these two issues are not as good as the other one that we just talked about.
They aren't, and I think that is something we have to deal with. It is a mixed one.
Yeah,
it's not as good as like the -1 is at 281. Not even, we're not close to that at all.
No.
The Gen X Holiday Special is at 480.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in that ballpark. What happened to Cassidy Keep with the Leprechauns? That's at 519. Death Whale is at 522. Home for the Holidays, which is right after this, or pretty soon after this, is at 523. We're in that ballpark. How do you feel about it compared to the Chibi Gen X arc that we just ranked not that long ago? That's at 619 right now.
I mean, I do have to say the artwork is so much clearer and so much of the distinct style, even with the alternate inker on the second issue. So I would put it above the Chibi Gen X. Frankly,
Would you put it?
I
Go ahead.
think I would actually come back up a little bit and put it above What Happened to Cassidy Keep, which is not illustrated by Chris and Mark.
Is it not?
No,
it's not.
It has covers.
It has the covers. That's a weird one. Okay, I will give you that. However, I don't think this is better than that Cable Peru thing.
And that's at 512.
Right. Or the Jasper's Warp Fallout stuff, like the start of the Alan Davis run.
Yep.
On Captain Britain.
I would agree.
That's at 514. You never read the Collective because you read the wrong volume of New Avengers.
Yeah.
So you can't rank it against that. That's the one where it turns out that Zorn, you know what? I can't even explain what Zorn is in that one. And I like to think of myself as a preeminent Zorn explainer.
Yeah.
All of the Zorn was resurrected by all of the negative energy from M-Day something. I'm not explaining Zorn right now.
I don't know, but there's a whole new group of people that just learned about Zorn because he was a Marvel Snap card last month. So
that's great. I'm going to put it below the Collective, but above Uncanny X-Men Annual 1995.
Great. So this is going to be our new...
Which is also a Generation X one. That's the one where Cannonball's racist... Sister?
Yeah.
Hey, how many relatives has Cannonball had join a anti-mutant hate organization, and why is it greater than 2?
It's because he has so many siblings. I mean, there's just a lot of Guthries.
They got to come up with something else for them to do with those siblings.
Well, speaking of things that might be racist, let's talk about our third story.
Hold on, wait. You can't be I'm from Kentucky. I was born there. You can't be racist against Kentuckians.
That's not what I was saying.
That's not a thing.
You were talking about Guthrie siblings. What? Guthrie siblings
being racist against mutants, not against...
What?
Not against Kentuckians.
What did you think I was talking about?
I thought you were saying that you could be racist against people from Kentucky.
I mean... I guess you could.
I don't think legally you can.
Legally? That's not how you define that. Anyway, we got to get into this third story, which is a very strange one that you got thanks to your friends at Wizard Magazine.
Wizard Magazine really was the X-Play of its time.
Sure was. Complete with
I guess
dynamics.
Like Game Informer was the X-Play of magazines at its time.
Yeah.
But Wizard speaks the same language as the G4 Tech TV did.
It's pretty wild that Wizard was still an actual thing in 1998. Like, this is really after the speculator boom and the collapse.
Yeah, but it's still but magazines are still going strong.
Yeah.
And Wizard had, like, people still liked comics.
Yeah.
So even if you didn't pick up everything, I could pick up Wizard, see what's going on. They have some great articles and killer art.
So one of the traditions of Wizard Magazine. So for folks who maybe you're young and you don't know what Wizard Magazine is. Wizard Magazine was a publication that existed mainly in the early to late 90s. It did go past that with a lot of movie coverage, but like its heyday is in the, with the image boom. So one of the ways that they used to get people excited about buying issues was that you would get trading cards and posters and, little mini comic books. But one of the things they would do is you could mail away and get half issues. So they would send you this exclusive comic that you could only get by mailing it away from an issue of the magazine. And one of those issues is what we're about to talk about, which is Generation X.
Lady Death. Oh,
half.
Sorry. I thought we were talking about Lady Death half.
I do have the Max half somewhere.
You have the Max half? Do you have Bone half?
I do have the Bone Holiday Special, which I believe did not come with Wizard Magazine. I believe that came with Hero Illustrated.
You probably don't have Mars Attacks half, I'm guessing.
Nope.
Astro City 1/2, which is actually incredibly good and probably the greatest thing that Wizard Magazine ever published.
I've told you the only half issue that I own, though I did recently get a copy of Wizard number 8 with that great Will Sportaccio Bishop cover, which is fun to look at.
You should read. Is the Max flipping the bird on the Max 1/2? Is Max giving you the double birds?
No, that's just what his hands look like. Do you not know what the Max looks like? He has claws for middle fingers.
I know he does. I guess I've never seen. I've not read the Max. I know I should. I would.
You don't have to, but you do like Sam.
No, but I want to. I want to. I guess I just haven't seen the Max in that position. He does look like he's giving you a.
He's always giving you the middle finger. Always.
That's neat. You should read Astro City 1/2. It's about the people that. You know how DC has crisis events?
Sure.
You know how the universe will get remade at the end of those, and then it's a new continuity that's mostly the same as the old one, but with little differences?
I'm going to agree, even though I don't actually know because I do not read these DC.
Do you remember Secret Wars 2015?
Yes.
You remember how in Secret Wars 2015 they took Miles Morales and his supporting cast and put them into main continuity? Yes. What if one of Miles Morales' supporting cast members came over, but their spouse didn't?
Oh.
That's Astro City 1/2. Is a guy dealing with the fact that his wife no longer exists in this universe, and he has to deal with the nearness of her, but the fact that they are truly a universe away, and she has just been written out of existence, and it's nobody's fault, and the superheroes can't do anything, and no one remembers but him, but he knows.
I don't want to read that.
You do. It's really good.
It sounds great. Anyway, one of those half issues was Generation X, except this is coming out during the Larry Hama era, which is not that great.
Not Larry's best work.
No. This is penciled by Ale Garza, inked by Sean Parsons, and it is a chance for Skin to go back to his, I'm just going to pronounce this the way it is in the story, his nabe, short for neighborhood, with Husk.
I don't like how that sounds off your tongue.
I don't like how it's written on the page. This is a story called Pistolas y Corazones. And
Guns and Hearts?
Yes. Skin is going back to his hometown with Husk and Jubilee to really unnecessarily unpack his really microscopically examining exactly how he faked his death by accident. And this is completely unnecessary.
Yeah. So I'm not ignorant enough to say that there was not significant amount of gang violence in LA in the 80s and 90s, but it feels super racist, right? That Skin's a gangbanger, and normally he gets a little bit of extra attention and extra depth to this, and here he is the most generic gangbanger who has to go into hiding because there is a even more generic gangbanger who's trying to murder him.
Well, we're getting the whole scenario of a drive-by shooting gone wrong, in which, these folks fired on these folks, and then because Skin got out of the car while during this event, his mutant powers manifested. So he got out of the car, and while he was getting out of the car, he dropped his wallet and someone else went to rob him, even though the car was on fire. And it's there's so much detail to this that is so unnecessary to telling this story, that it overshadows. There's too many things in this issue that overshadow. There's an interesting scene where we get a flashback to Torres and Skin's youth that I thought was
Yeah.
actually pretty good. But then the culmination of this episode is this guy Lupo showing up and like attacking them with a machine gun. And it's like
With
all
like an
nuances
Uzi.
gone.
Yeah. And it's just like Larry.
Yeah.
Larry Hama. We love Lethal Larry.
Yeah, but Lethal Larry is not Latino. And one of the things that he's doing throughout this is trying to evoke sort of like street language, I guess is probably the best way to put it. And folks, there's a panel that I don't think I actually sent this to you, but I did.
You did not.
I did text you to ask if this was a hate crime because
I forgot.
because like on page 3, Paige and Jubilee essentially dress up like they cosplay as like I guess Latin gang members. Like they're wearing bandanas and shirts, long sleeve shirts buttoned at the top but open at the bottom, and baggy jeans. And it's like, oh boy, like both of these characters should know better. And the fact that Jubilee is standing there saying, better recognize girlfriend. I mean, I realize that
Jubes, you grew up in Beverly Hills. Maybe chill.
Yeah. Like Skin pulls up in his car and is like, you need to get in this car before you get us killed. But like they're flashing gang signs. I mean, I just don't know what Larry was thinking that this was a good idea.
Here's this is my grand unifying theory of this. Larry Hama, we think of him as Wolverine guy, but that's not what people think of Larry Hama as. What is Larry Hama's greatest? When the first line in Larry's obituary, when Joe. Larry does pass, G.I. Joe. Larry's writing G.I. Joe level stereotypes into this, but without the fact that G.I. Joe is such beyond reality that you can get away with that, because it's like none of this makes sense and everything is broken down to its most stereotypical buy all our playsets and toys vibe.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying everything in G.I. Joe has ever been good, but like it fits with the universe more to have these broad stereotypes in there. Where here it feels dirty and gross and weird because we're not talking about the guy who fights Cobra dressed as a gang member. We're talking about like a dude's life.
It overly complicates Angelo's backstory and also really weakens it by introducing this Lupo character. And then on top of that, to have these other elements of it that really they feel racist, in the way that the character is depicted, because this is not, I'm not saying that like Scotty Lobbs is like, this super delicate, intelligent writer, but
I'm sorry, just the idea of like, oh yeah, racially sensitive Scott Lobdell over here.
Yeah, I'm not saying
the guy who wrote Excalibur 2, Scott Lobdell over here he's who we're comparing to favorite, like say, no, Scott did it right.
Well,
that's the guy.
Scott at least wrote the character with like emotion, with heart, with like actual pathos, and like
I'm agreeing. I think the fact that we've also read other terrible Scott Lobdell comics about this.
Sure.
And yet generally it's like, yeah, Scott Lobdell handled this with a lot more nuance and sensitivity.
Yeah. Yeah. So
friggin' wild, man.
Can't recommend this one. It is not available on Marvel Unlimited, and I have to assume that perhaps some of its content might have something to do with that. I don't know.
I would 100% think it's just because Generation X is poorly collected on Marvel Unlimited and has always been that way. Okay. It's probably mostly that. I mean, there aren't a lot of freaks out there that are like, we got to get all of those Larry Hama issues, including the weird one that you could only get from Wizard Magazine.
I don't think those are the ones that people are particularly chasing. But I gotta say, Zach, this is going to go kind of low. I think we're like barely at the highest, maybe in the 900s.
Where's the X-Men 1/2 issue?
Oh, well, that's better.
It is better, but I want to like that. I can give us a hard ceiling. Actually, we don't have to go that far up. 928 is Origin, the Wolverine story. Wolverine Origin is better than this.
Absolutely. I mean, El Garza's art isn't like bad, but I think it's also very cartoony in a way that doesn't lend itself to telling a serious story.
It does lend itself to more broad caricaturish stereotypes in this, and that feels weird.
Yes.
This is worse than X-Men Black Sun.
Which is that?
That is at 968. I'm just kind of scrolling down. This is worse than Mojo Worldwide.
Yep, I would agree.
Also, it's an incompetently told story. Like, we're not just being SJWs. Oh, this is racist. It's also bad. Listen,
yeah, we can be both, Zach. That's fine.
We can be both. I'm just saying. You've also Demon Bear is pretty high up on our list, and that has challenges.
Sure. I would say Prisoner of Love is better.
This is bad in a lot of different ways. Yes, Prisoner of Love is
better.
Fine. Like,
no?
What am I gonna do? Advocate for Prisoner of Love? No, I'm not advocating for either one of these comics. They're both pretty bad. I would.
This comic doesn't have as many swastikas as Deadpool versus X-Force, which Pepe has been selling pages from recently, and I noticed that none of them have any of that in it. And I was like, wow, you probably can't sell a lot of this issue, can't? Like these 4 issues, can you, Pepe? I was like, oh no.
To be fair, the people with the swastikas were Nazis.
And Deadpool.
It's weird that Deadpool was on their side. Yes, trying to make them win.
Yes.
And I get that there was a reason for it in the plot, but still, it reads incongruously.
Yeah.
This isn't better than the time Magneto had yoga powers.
No.
It's not better than that.
It's better than Hyperstorm, though.
No, Hyperstorm is bad and super long.
Better than Bird Brain?
Yeah, but put it between Bird Brain and the new Exiles versus X-Men.
Okay. So this is our new 1025 Generation X half.
I mean, this one's not good.
No.
We like Gen X.
No.
We like Larry, but boy, you know what? People can have bad days.
Yeah, this one just doesn't work. So sorry to end on a low note, but definitely check out those other 3 issues, which were much better. Go read
any other comic about skin. Those are good. Hey, Adam, what do you got going on? What's up, buddy? What you doing?
I mean, we've got our normal Comics XF stuff. Lately, we've been doing some top 10 lists based on themes that we see in our BOTA lists. So, and Jonathan Hickman just started doing Imperial. So we did a top 10 list of the top 10 Shi'ar stories for the BOTA list. So, check that out. Austin and I are still covering Uncanny X-Men. And I think that's probably about it for stuff that I've been working on over there. You can always follow on social, Adam Rec on Blue Sky and Instagram. And Zach, do we know what we're doing next episode, or is it a surprise?
We'll let you know.
Whoa.
We might have some other stuff that we weren't planning happen. It'll be one way or another. It'll be an episode, folks, and it'll be a fun one.
That's
so until
right.
then, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Get it!